Alright, welcome back everyone. It's now time to finally move away from the trousers and the shirt and actually work on something else. And you might have already been able to guess what that something else is going to be. Now, I was considering maybe sort of doing the gloves first of all, because it would be a simpler part of the character to do, but at the same time I think it's important we get the more core pieces of the character done, and I'm going to leave the vest to the end because that's got a lot of regalia and stuff like that I want to add. So we'll go ahead and do the boots because it's such a pivotal part of the lower half of her design. Okay, now this is actually back in ye olden days when we didn't have the Marvelous Designer to sort of give us some basic folds. Of course you can make boots in Marvelous Designer and see where the folds would land, but this is back in ye olden days when we didn't have that and we had to basically simulate these folds. Okay, so it's all about picking the kind of folds that you want, and you may recall I sort of said I was aiming for something like this initially, and you can see what we've got here in both the concept art and this particular image here is that you've got this kind of fanning out here, okay, just above the ankle there, which is where we've placed this belt actually. Okay, so the belt per se isn't really having a creasing effect on the boot, it's just kind of wrapped around there for good measure. So a kind of boot like this with a type of leather in there is kind of what I'm going to be aiming for, and it takes a big kind of, to borrow Bear Grylls as a specific term here, a courage pill to basically just find a place to start. And what we're going to do first of all is we're going to start with the clay build-up brush. Okay, so we'll just focus on one boot for now. We're not going to worry about the fact that there are a pair of boots. We'll just do the one boot for now. And basically, you can see I've restarted ZBrush again. So starting fresh, we're going to go to a clay build-up. And let's just bring the intensity down a little bit. I know that's a little bit kind of blasphemous to do that for clay builder, but we're just going to paint in this general kind of structure here. Okay, so we're just going to kind of paint in there, zigzag down, and then bring it forward, and then lump it towards the bottom like that. Okay, so obviously the lower the intensity, the less the effect. So just go ahead and just be brave about it. Clump it around in certain areas there, and don't be too disheartened or shy to basically start introducing, well, what can we say, volume into these boots. Okay, so I'm just looking at the reference I've got there. I'm playing quite a close reference to this now because obviously we're kind of flying a bit more blind here. We haven't got Marvelous Designer to kind of guide us, so we're going to do this all manually. So that's why I'm kind of being a bit bold about my strokes here at the moment. Okay, now remember, of course, your undo key, Control Z, is your best friend should you make any unwanted mistakes, because that's quite prevalent at this point in time. Okay, right, so what have we got there? It looks like a hot mess, but if we just go ahead and smooth some of that down, what you should start to see there is quite a variation in the boots. And even though it looks a little bit lumpy, you can maybe sort of get a feel for how some of these shapes are starting to take effect. So we've got a lot of this kind of curvature down, which is obviously just gravity kind of playing into the leather and the fabric and what have you. Okay, so that's how that's working there, and that's essentially what the boot is, right? I mean, it's just a clump of leather wrapped around someone's foot, and it's all going to prioritize basically hanging down. Okay, so it's important that we get the front looking exactly the way we want first of all, and then we'll address the back, because the back is actually quite easy. The back is usually where the boot is tightest, so all the kind of folds are going to start to disappear as we go through there. Now don't worry about the side if it gets a little bit messy at the moment. And what we're going to do now is we're just going to take, I'd almost sort of skip the standard brush stage. I'm just going to go for the damn standard brush, which is hidden by the concept art, so I'll put that to one side. Oh, I pressed the wrong key. There we go. Oh, there it is. Okay, gonna bring the intensity down like we always do, and I'm just going to basically pencil in, even at this low kind of low resolution stage, where some of these folds would sort of sit. And you can see I'm just following that line there essentially, and I'm just going to round it out. And what this is going to do is it's going to give a bit more form and definition to that kind of clumpy clay build-up brush process that we've just done there. Okay, and you can do the same for the edges. Of course you will want to do that. Okay, something like that, and just kind of pick an edge and just keep going with it. Go with the flow. Okay, here I'm going to kind of clump it up there. and bring it all the way up there, just like it suggests in the kind of art there. And we've got these kind of those what could we call it, like O-shaped areas again now in the boots as well. You can see fabric often has very similar folds, even across different types of cloth and fabric and material. Okay, so we've got that there. We'll just come in and it would just sort of maybe do a nice cut in there, and we'll just clump it out here. Okay, so what have we got there? We're starting to get a bit more fall now. If we smooth that out now, we're starting to get something already pretty close to a boot, and you can see that what this has allowed us to do is really focus on bringing out these forms, but in a bit more of a kind of realistic kind of material leathery kind of fashion. Okay, it's not just clumps of solid clay and stuff anymore. It's actually looks like properly formed folds and what have you. Okay, again, that focus around the ankle there. And if at any point in time you feel like it's too round, of course, bring in your trim dynamic brush. I want to introduce a bit of kind of flattening here, and particularly on the top here. Okay, and anything else. Again, this image here, it's a guide. It's not the be-all and end-all. If your folds work out slightly differently and you like the look of your particular folds as opposed to the reference, then by all means, go with the folds you have. Don't always just, hey, that doesn't look like the fold I'm trying to, well, in my reference, let's say, it doesn't matter. Unless you particularly want that fold, just go with the folds you create and whatever looks best. Okay, so swing back round, I'll do a little kind of delve in there. And then I've got quite a big delving in here, so I'm back to my damn standard brush now, just to make sure I can bring that out. Even again at this low resolution stage, it's important to get some of these key shapes in. Okay, now what's happened here is that the side's kind of been forgotten about. Okay, so we can also actually address the side a little bit now. We'll go to our move tool, move topological or any other, that's fine. And I'm basically just going to make some choice decisions now about where all this sits. So I'm going to push that back in. And you see where it kind of bends backwards a bit here. I'm just going to kind of push that in as well. And then I think what I'll do is I'll kind of make a kind of push in there. And maybe a bit of a push there. And I'll bring that out a little bit more to kind of offset it. Okay. And also you can do this generally as well. You can just kind of push it all back. Because as we've been doing the clay build-up feature, it has kind of gotten away a little bit with itself. Okay, now if we bring back the boots there, we can sort of see how it's already shaping itself up to look. So you can see there that it has a pretty good effect. Okay, we got the kind of shoes roughly in the correct places where they need to be. The belt there, we just need to adjust the height on a few things there just to emphasize it. Okay, so maybe we could push that in like that. And of course the belt isn't in the final position, so we really don't have to worry about where that is right now. Let's make sure we get rid of that mask, because that might cause problems too. Okay, so you can see that the difference already, it looks a lot less like a tube, essentially. It looks more like an actual shoe. So let's spend some time with the standard brush now, and we'll just work on the actual shoe itself. So what we're going to do is just going to exaggerate this area here. So maybe we don't want it on strength 25. Let's bring it down to 14 or something. And we'll just exaggerate this area here, because all boots are angled to the inner side of the foot. Okay, so just want to exaggerate that that's the focus here on this shoe. You can see it slants off there, so we can just spread it out a little bit, but not too much. Just a little bit there, just to kind of emphasize that shape there. Can you see? That's basically focusing on the left hand. Well, as you look at it, the left hand side of things. Okay, right, I believe it's now finally time to step it up a notch. So let's go to our subdivision level. We'll bump it up a little bit so we can see kind of the forms that we're creating here. And now we can spend some time with a standard brush and just kind of place in some of those forms in more detail that we see in the kind of reference there. Okay, and again, at this stage, it's not a stage to be critical and go, oh my gosh, it's not the same as what I'm following. That's not the goal here. The goal here is to essentially just, we have Marvelous Designer guide folds now. We want to follow them. We want to enhance what those look like, basically. And that's kind of what we're aiming for at the moment here. Okay. Obviously, change your brush size at this point for any kind of areas that obviously you need to. Use your judgment for this. Okay. The one advice I will give you at this stage is not to cut too deeply into anything just yet. Try and avoid that. Just kind of stay a little bit shallow for now. And don't make any big moves, essentially, because we should have somewhat made our big moves already. So anyway, that's fine. This point down here looks a little bit thin, so I'm just going to inflate that. There we go, because I want that a bit thicker and chunkier. Okay, and I'm going to sort of carry that round here as well, so just sort of bring that round there. I might bring that into another fold later on. Okay, smooth it out, of course. And here we've got like a quite a big delve in here, so we've got a kind of a solid sort of flat part there. Just bring it out a bit more. Okay, smooth it out. And then we've got quite a big delve in here, so let's create that kind of loose fabric there. Is it fabric? Is it fabric? I don't know. Is leather fabric? I suppose it's material at the very least. And then we've got to kind of exaggerate the back part here. So it's very slack at the back actually. So we've got that kind of idea here. In fact, the standard brush isn't quite working out for us. Let's bring up the clay build-up brush, and even at this high subdivision level, that's a perfectly legal move to do. Okay, so there we go. We're just kind of emphasizing that back stretch of the boot there, which we can now see. If we go around to the front, we can see that there. In fact, we can heighten it a little bit more, maybe from the ankle here all the way up. So really kind of work into that there. Okay, see how that looks. Right, that's starting to look a little bit more like what we're aiming for. And we just use the clay build-up brush a bit more just to clear out some of these areas. Okay, let's kind of build up this area a bit. Yes, okay, and then this area up here. So the standard brush wasn't quite getting the results I wanted to get, so the clay build-up brush will take care of that instead. That's fine. Sometimes that's just how it is. It's just how it is sometimes. The standard brush it's a good tool, but it can lack a little bit of oomph. If you need a bit of oomph, the clay build-up brush is the best at oomph-ing, if that makes any sense. Okay. Right, just maybe build that out a little bit more. Okay, bring this guy down a bit. Yeah, okay, bring that around there. I'm going to kind of assume that wraps around there a little bit, kind of like the other side. Okay. I've got that lumpy bit now. I don't really want that. That's probably... There we go. I think I kind of dived into that too much. Let's go around the back a bit more. That's better. Okay, right. So, a little bit of kind of curvature. There we go. That's what I was looking for. Okay, a bit more weighting here. Yeah, alright. Smooth it out, see what we've got. Okay, so you can see that naturally we're making our way around the back. Okay, that's perfectly normal. I'm just going to bring this fold up there. So pretty much copying the other side is what I've already got. If that's a bit too much, I might trim dynamic that down. There we go. Just basically copying what I've got on the other side. Kind of strand that goes all the way up to the top there. Okay. And let's have a look with the shoe. Okay, so we can sort of see what's happening here a little bit. We're going to have to tweak a few things. Let's move that up slightly. Actually, yes, we want to move that up. Just ever so slightly. Just so it kind of folds out a bit more. Okay, I think we definitely need to take the trim dynamic brush and start dealing with some of these areas here. And just leaning it down a little bit. Maybe undo that I like that particular part the way it is, but around here for instance, let's kind of chop away some of this. Oh no, undo that. Let's just take a look away from it all. Yes, okay. Let's sort of change the shape of it a bit. Let's pull that part out, we'll push that part in. There we go. And let's sort of maybe take... Oh, something happening with my brush at the moment. Seems to be... Oh, what's going on here? My keyboard is gone awry. Something's happening. It's I seem to be pressing space quite a bit. Perhaps there's a bit of moisture on my pen tip. Let's try that again, shall we? Alright, it seems a little bit more stable. Oh, nope. Okay, right. Hang on. I need to fix this first. Right, apologies for that, guys. I had to restart ZBrush there. For some reason, it wasn't quite having it. So let's go ahead now. We'll kind of finish off this particular part. Okay. So what we were doing earlier is just trying to get this to look a little bit less lumpy, essentially. So I think right now my trim dynamic brush will be my best friend here because it's a little bit big at the top. Oh, I can see it's still not quite healed. Okay, never mind. Let's persist anyway. Or let's not, perhaps. Perhaps there is a bit of a thing going on. It's a bit of a kind of ghost in my shell, should I say? I don't know. I'll have to leave it here, guys. Okay, so I'll tell you what, we'll end this video here. I'll go ahead and try and figure this out, and we'll make it less chunky in the next video, shall we? Let's do that.